talking about registering for your wedding. This is a fun topic, although probably not something that everyone's thinking about, and it could be incredibly overwhelming. I know as a groom it was for me, although it was fun. I think this will be a good one.
I think so too.
All right, perfect. So let's first talk about Registry 101. Where to start, where to begin, where in the process do you do this? So the first question is, do you even really need to register?
So I think generally the answer is yes. You want to give your guests some direction as far as what you're hoping for. So while it may not be a traditional items that you're thinking of registering for, unless you want to receive, just a mishmash of whatever people deem
watermelon platters and,
whatever people deem to be good wedding gifts. I would suggest giving people a little bit of insight into what would be good for you, especially if you have a lot of things already. Giving a little bit of insight as to, we don't need plates, but we could really use a refresh on our towels or whatever it is, or maybe some more untraditional items. But having an idea is always helpful for people. That way they can give you something that you actually want instead of lots of returns post honeymoon.
Right, especially returns for stores potentially across the country that you maybe don't have access to,
exactly,
or have any clue where it came from. Because I know, when we've returned things in the past at other stores, sometimes it came from one store, even though they sold the same product, there's a different SKU, so you kind of end up in this whole very frustrating process.
Right, you're not sure where it came from.
Right,
exactly.
So the short answer is yes.
Pretty much.
Okay, perfect. So if so, then what do you register for? What sorts of things? Like you mentioned towels, and not watermelon platters.
Hey, you might want a watermelon.
I guess if you're super into it, that's true.
I think, so traditionally it's kind of those household goods. Plates, silverware, towels, linens, things like that.
Yeah.
China is something that, people sometimes register for, sometimes don't. Something that you probably don't think you need now, but most likely you're never going to want to set out and buy yourself a full China set. So if it's something you can see yourself using, down the line, then it's definitely something worth registering for. So those are kind of your traditional items. But now you can really register for so many different things. So you can go to stores like Best Buy and register for audio equipment. You can register for things for your honeymoon.
Come again?
Right. Luggage.
That wasn't on our list. Hang on a second.
It's weird how that works.
Hang on a second. So could we have registered for, say, Alabama football tickets?
I don't know about that.
Interesting. Okay. Continue.
But really, you can register for all different types of things, experiences for your honeymoon or upgrades to your house. So if you guys already live together, maybe you have most of your things.
Yeah.
So just kind of thinking about what would be a really nice gift. Obviously, cash is something that's obviously always appreciated as a wedding gift. So registering for kind of untraditional registries where you can register for house upgrades or honeymoon or things like that, you can always register for that, or kind of let people know that you'd love them to contribute toward a big trip you're saving for, or a house,
or a cause.
Or a cause, yeah. I mean, doing something for a charitable cause is always a nice thing too. Yeah. So there's different ways you can word it if it's not kind of that traditional thing that you want.
Gotcha. I mean, I know when we were getting married and it's been a little bit, but I know it was nice because we had all of our kind of silverware in China and things like that from college, and it was just random things that you accrued over the years, largely from IKEA.
Right.
So I think it was nice to kind of finally get stuff that kind of matched and it was ours and not just mine versus yours sort of stuff.
For sure. So I think it's always nice to kind of look at what you have and what you might want to upgrade, or if you're moving in together, what you guys need if you don't have something. So just kind of get an idea of that and giving some kind of direction. A traditional registry, I strongly advise you to do just a small handful of traditional registry items, because your parents' friends, they may not be into helping you pay for a honeymoon experience, and they, might think, I have to give, China, or I have to give Waterford or whatever it is. And so giving them a little bit of guidance and maybe things that they would feel is an appropriate wedding gift, but you also want, will make everybody happy, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know one thing with us, when we registered, that I wish we had done differently is when we were picking our everyday China, I felt like we picked something that what was a little bit more expensive and also was harder to get. Like it wasn't something that was easily replaced. So like when 1 or 2 broke, it was, well, now we're down to 6, and then 5, and then and you couldn't get them anymore, and then that gets frustrating too. I mean, I think looking back, for me anyways, it was a level of practicality that we didn't quite listen to.
No, we didn't.
Well, pro tip.
But that's okay too. You don't have to be practical, right? It's kind of like going shopping without spending any money when you're registering. So, have a little bit of fun if there's a specialty item. But that brings up a great point too, that you kind of, manage your registry throughout the planning process. You want to make sure if you register for something that's, a summer specific product and you're getting married, in the winter, those products may not be available anymore. So just kind of keeping an eye on those things.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And also, I think the other thing to pay attention to is also having kind of a wide range of items at different price points.
100%.
Because everyone's budget is different, especially given that people are going to be coming from out of town and spending a lot of money to attend your wedding anyways.
Right.
So how much they can spend on a gift can vary.
It does. It definitely varies. So you want to make sure throughout the process, after showers and things like that,
right,
you kind of refresh as you get closer to wedding day and people have bought you things. You want to just make sure that you kind of have things at all different price points, so that people can kind of satisfy whatever their budget is to spend on you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right, so then where do you recommend people go to register?
So I think doing at least one big national retailer is really important,
Sure.
Or something that can be purchased online, like an Amazon or Macy's, Target,
Yeah.
Bed Bath & Beyond, something that literally can have access, especially if you have a lot of guests that are traveling in from out of state, something that everyone has access to. And then if you want to do something a little more specialty, whether it's still a chain store like a Crate and Barrel. Exactly. So it's a little more specialty, or if there's even something local that you love. But if you don't have a lot of local people, keep that in mind. How would they order? Is there an online place? Is there a phone number to call? So you want to make it easy for your guests to buy you something.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then how and when do you need to do it? At what point during the plan? You mentioned you should update it throughout. So I guess when should you start, and then how often should you be updating that?
So you definitely want to make sure that you're registered before you have any big parties. So, if you're having an engagement party, you could maybe start your registry, have a few items. Engagement parties don't always come with gifts, so it's not, kind of mandatory. I would say you definitely, before you have any kind of bridal shower, you want to make sure you've registered, because people will bring gifts to a bridal shower.
Sure.
So you want to make sure that you have a good hold and at least good number of options. If you're having a bridal shower, you definitely want to make sure you have some more traditional items on there, because people aren't going to necessarily buy you, luggage or a honeymoon trip at a bridal shower.
Right.
And so you want to make sure you have a good number of items on there for that.
Sure.
And then obviously as you get closer to wedding day, you'll want to make sure that your registry is nice and full. People will start buying you gifts, 6-8 weeks out before the wedding.
Sure.
So you want to make sure it's been updated.
No, that makes sense. And then how do you share your registry?
So as far as, other events, bridal showers, things like that, it's totally fine to put your registry on the invitation.
Okay.
Emily Post etiquette is not to put the registry information on your wedding invitation, just because a wedding invitation is actually already saying, hey, you're invited, give a gift kind of thing. So you can definitely put that on your wedding website. That's a great place to put that.
Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to ask you an opinion question, which I know you don't love.
Okay.
But I think it's something that you wanted, I think, if I recall correctly, something that I was like, we don't need that. But is China. China is such a traditional thing. I think that, in this generation, we typically don't have as many, big dinners where you're pulling out the china and things like that. And it's something that seems to be getting nixed more and more from my point of view. But as couples are sitting down and they're debating China, like what, and I'm throwing you a curveball here, but like what do you recommend to your couples? What are your thoughts in general on registering for China?
So I'm definitely glad we did, and
Yeah.
I love having our China. But I think when you're looking at it, you need to think about, the lifestyle that you guys have. So do you guys have a lot of big family gatherings, and you could see in the future you eventually hosting those gatherings, whether that's just big parties or a holiday? Do you think that you guys are going to have a big family and you're going to be into really super, more formal dinners? those are the kinds of things to look into the future and see whether or not you actually could see yourself using this. If it's just going to sit in your cabinet and collect dust, for all eternity, it's probably not worthwhile. Right. Maybe mom or grandma has china that, they're eventually going to, pass down to you, right. So you don't really need to register for it. So it's just a matter of if you could see yourself using that. Are you a more formal person in general? Are you guys kick back, relaxed, could never see yourself hosting a formal dinner? Then right. I wouldn't say waste the money or your guests' money on something that's never going to be used. You certainly want to invest in things you're going to use. But sure. If you could see yourself using it, like I said, you'll probably never buy that for yourself. Right. So it's a great opportunity to register for it and keep that on your list.
Makes sense. I mean, you're also an event planner, so
right.
Right. So yeah, your preference would be possibly different. So
right.
No, I was kind of curious because I know it's definitely a hot button thing. It's not a given anymore. It used to be a given.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Well, okay. So then with that, let's kind of segue. So what if you just don't want more stuff? What if you're just not into it? You don't want the china, you don't want the glassware. You've got 2 towels. You're good.
Yeah.
What?
You might need more than 2 towels in the future. Just a suggestion.
Clearly, I don't do the laundry.
No, I mean, if you don't want more stuff, I think that's totally fine. I think there are alternatives. Like we said, you can ask for, hey, we really would prefer cash gifts that go towards something.
Sure. Give
people that kind of information, and that way they feel like they're contributing towards a future down payment on a house, or maybe you're not going on a honeymoon right away and you're going to go for your 1-year anniversary. Yeah. So let people know we would really prefer this. Another option would be to register for those experiences, whether it's cooking classes or something for your honeymoon. So maybe experiences that you guys would want to do together as opposed to actual things.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like I said, something that's just kind of unusual, like maybe you need new luggage or you want a new TV. And so that could be another one of those things, kind of contribute to this fund, and we're going to buy ourselves a big TV for, our new house or whatever. And then finally, if you really don't want gifts and you don't want people to give you anything, then charitable cause is, the ultimate way to go.
Sure.
Because people will want to do something. So if they can make a donation in your name towards something that you care about, that could be a great way for them to feel really like they did something nice for you, but at the same time you just didn't need more stuff, and that's totally great too.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know that many people will want to give a gift.
They do.
They really want to. They really want to kind of express their love for you and you as a couple, and they really want to express that, so they do that through gift giving a lot of times. So I think that's great. You're not going to tell people aren't going to just show up with nothing if you say we don't want gifts.
Yeah, you can say no gifts, but people are still going to want to. Not everyone, but some people are still really going to want to do something for you. So it's best to kind of let them know the best way to show their love. However that might be.
I think that's great. So what do people think about untraditional registries? I've kind of heard mixed reviews from just kind of talking with people. What, from your perspective, how are people kind of viewing all that?
So I think that it's totally accepted and normal. I think you kind of have, maybe your older group of people who may not want to give to that untraditional registry, like grandma who maybe can't even log on online.
Right.
So they're going to be the people who still want to go to a traditional store and buy you something, and that's totally fine too. If you get something random like that, you can always return things later and get something you might actually need. But giving just a little bit of guidance for some of your guests who are a little older and may not want to do something traditional, or even, just people who want to give you something as opposed to that kind of untraditional. And like we talked about, it doesn't have to be glasses. It could be something like, FSI or luggage or whatever. Yeah. My go-to examples.
Okay, perfect. Well, this was great. Actually, before we do close out, I would like to say one thing that I loved about our wedding planning process many moons ago was actually being able to go to events at some of those bigger stores that you mentioned. You have to look on their calendars and things like that, but you can actually go to the events and they'll cater to you. They'll walk you through the registration process. They'll give you the gun that zaps the items and usually give you snacks or drinks and things like that. Right. It can be kind of a fun experience, and to see other couples too, and be you can ask someone questions and things like that. So that was something that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I think
about
it's a
our
great thing
process.
to look into if you're considering that more traditional registry route.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Well, in closing, as always, for our couples, what are some of the best next steps when it comes to registering for your wedding?
So I think first and foremost, you want to kind of make a list of stores that you're thinking about registering. Talk between the two of you. What do you actually need? What do you want? Kind of prioritize those things. And then go out and just start the registry. Try to see if they have any fun events or anything like that. And you don't have to feel overwhelmed or even register the first time you go. Maybe just go to a store and look around and get an idea of y'all's tastes and see if you can, decide.
Yeah.
I know sometimes tastes aren't always the same, so it's a great time.
No.
It's a great way to kind of get together and work through those things.
Yep. No, absolutely. Well, perfect.